Up your appeal.
For those hashtag moments.
Up your productivity.
So you can work faster.
Up your memories.
For more likes that everyone will love.
Up your laughter.
So everyone can get in on the fun. Revon Broadband Internet is now 33% faster with upload speeds up to 7 times faster than ever. Sign up for the fastest internet today, starting at just $19.99 a month. Rev, join the revolution.
New Zealand value-added tax experts consulting with government. A 41-year-old man from San Salvador charged with rape. Police investigating the third murder in 48 hours. The shadow Foreign Affairs Minister hits back at the actions of Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell and cracking down on an increase in cybercrime. We have those stories and more coming up tonight. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and your MB12 starts right now. Joining us. Value-added tax experts from New Zealand are in the capital this week, giving government their take on whether the country is ready for the introduction of the new tax. State Minister for Finance Michael Halkitis says the consultants were scheduled to meet with the Prime Minister today to give a final briefing on their analysis thus far. It is hoped that the experts will help convince stakeholders that value-added tax is the right move. Dana Smith reports.
Halkitis said the government hopes the VAT experts will provide another level of reassurance to those who still have some uncertainty about value-added tax. He said experts note fear does arise whenever new tax is introduced, particularly VAT, but the end result is usually a positive one.
We want to be able to have them give some of the, particularly the business community who have had some concerns, give them the benefit of their experience in the implementation. And what we have found with all the experts we speak to is that when we are talking about tax reform, introduction of a new system, particularly the VAT, there are concerns, there are fears, there are uncertainties, but after the implementation, almost universally, the response had been a positive one. Based on both the results for government finances and on, the creating a better climate for growth in the economy.
That implementation has been widely criticized by the public and private sectors. Several businesses around the country, including SuperValue and even the nation's hotels, have voiced concerns over the tax. Opposition to VAT has inspired T-shirts, petitions, and even songs by local artists. VAT was initially expected to be implemented on July 1st at a rate of 15%, but the Prime Minister later announced the rate would be lowered. He also suggested implementation could be delayed. Though his comments were welcomed by some, others criticized the Prime Minister for adding to the continued uncertainty surrounding the tax. Halkitis said the New Zealand experts will not only reassure stakeholders, but advise the country on its readiness.
We're implementing this new system, and so we wanted them to say to us, here are things that you need to be doing. This is where you think we think that you need to be at this particular point in time. Here are some suggestions. Basically, give us the benefit of their experience and being experts in the area and being in a jurisdiction that has implemented, to be able to bring another level of reassurance to those people who have concerns that, look, this is a system that, if done properly, it can work.
The Coalition for Responsible Taxation, which has also been vocal about its opposition to the government's implementation plan, had a scheduled meeting with the New Zealand VAT experts on Wednesday, according to Halkitis. The group, which was established by the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, is currently completing its own study to present to the government. That study will include a VAT alternative. The public still doesn't know when exactly VAT will come into effect, but Halkitis said final details such as the taxation rate and date should be coming very soon at the appropriate time. He added although the government is confident in its VAT plans, it is still open to considering other alternatives.
Even though we believe that we are on the right track and this is the right policy to implement, we have to make sure that we do it as seamlessly as possible. We get buy-in, so that to the extent that there are concerns and feedback and suggestions of alternatives from various groups, we want to be able to analyze those And if there's a better alternative, the Prime Minister has said we'll be perfectly ready to entertain it.
Though the government is still working on its VAT implementation plans, Halkitis said the Christie administration will make a final decision once the coalition's report is presented. New Zealand experts will meet with the media tomorrow. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Well, a 41-year-old man appeared in a magistrate's court this afternoon charged with the rape of a 17-year-old girl. Henry Sean Darren Gay, also known as Darren Gay of First Street, Coburn, Townsend, Salvador, appeared before Magistrate Andrew Forbes. According to initial police reports, it was around 10 a.m. on April 21st when the 17-year-old was at the dock in Coburn Town where she was reportedly assaulted. The suspect was arrested 2 hours later. Gay is charged with having sexual intercourse with the 17-year-old victim without her consent. He was further charged with one count of causing harm to the victim. Gay, who was not represented by an attorney, was not required to enter a plea to the charges. He was denied bail and remanded to Her Majesty's Prison until his next court appearance on May 27th for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage revealing that government has not yet drafted regulations needed to create a promised sexual offenders register, but expects the register will be active well before the end of the year. Amendments to the Sexual Offences Act and the Child Protection Act were passed in the House of Assembly last December, the groundwork for the creation of a sexual offenders register and a MARCO alert for missing children. The MARCO alert is similar to the United States Amber Alert. Nottage says it is unfair for government to begin a register without notifying the public so that everyone knows that once it's put into effect, everyone convicted of sexual offenses will be on that register. Nottage said the register will not be retroactive. Last week, Free National Movement Deputy Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands questioned if the government was serious about producing the promised register. And a man was shot and killed on Charles Vincent Street last night, marking the third murder in less than 48 hours. Superintendent Paul Roll says the victim and a friend were walking north along the street when occupants of a yellow Honda opened fire.
Sometime around 10:30 p.m., a male and female, they were walking along Charles Vincent Street, going to a local establishment to get something to drink. They saw two men sitting on a yellow Honda type vehicle, and shortly after they walked past, the man produced weapons and started discharging those handguns in the direction of the male and female.
Roll says the victims then took off running in a bid to escape.
Male and female in turn ran through an alley next to the church, I think that's Ebenezer Church, into the Homestead Street area where the male collapsed in a yard. EMS responded to the scene and transported the male to hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries. He was shot multiple times to the mid-body.
Although police appealed to anyone with information to come forward, Roll noted police arrested a possible suspect shortly after the incident.
Shortly afterwards, officers acting on information had taken a suspect into custody from the Charles Vincent Street area. It's a 23-year-old male that's in custody now at the office.
Two more men, ages 29 and 21, and a woman aged 21 were also taken into custody in connection with that incident. Meantime, police have identified the two men killed in separate incidents recently. The victim shot to death through Jacaranda Street, Pinewood Gardens just before 11 Tuesday night has been identified as 29-year-old Tyrone Benaby. The second victim, shot to death at Dunmore Street just after midnight yesterday, has been identified as 24-year-old Ronaldo Brainin. And officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit yesterday making a major drug bust of 37 bales of suspected marijuana worth $1.3 million. Two men ages 20 and 24 years are now in police custody following that drug find, with Operation Bahamas Turks and Caicos partners Exuma Police Marine Support Unit and Long Island Police. Police say a 42-foot white go-fast vessel was observed with two men on board near Hard Bargain, Long Island. As the interdiction team approached the vessel, police say the men were seen throwing bales of suspected marijuana into the water. The suspects and drugs arrived in the capital last night. And the Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs is standing behind opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis and his comments comparing the Christie administration to Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. Hubert Chipman says he believes Minnis' comments were taken out of context, but adds that it is highly inappropriate that Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell used Minnis' remarks to score what he called cheap political points.
It's totally unnecessary. I think it was more for political points, to be honest with you. More of propaganda than anything else. And I think, like I said, I believe we'll be looked at as a laughingstock in the international market.
Minnis has been criticized by Progressive Liberal Party members as being insensitive for suggesting the Christie administration was as lost as that Malaysian Airlines aircraft. Yesterday, Mitchell released a statement saying he sent a diplomatic note to the governments of Malaysia, China, and the United States, indicating that Minnis' comments did not represent a lack of sensitivity on behalf of the Bahamian government and its people. Well, today, Chipman hit out at Mitchell's actions, calling it irresponsible conduct for the Foreign Affairs Minister.
I can see the Minister of Foreign Affairs making a statement to that effect. Let's say somebody in his government had made a statement contrary to the government's position. And then and only then I can see the minister correcting that and saying this is not the government's stance. The leader of the opposition is not the government, albeit he's the leader of the opposition. So as far as him correcting or making corrections to what the leader of the opposition said, it's nonsense. I think it will be looked at in that light, all right? I think, when these various countries received this note, and I think one of the first thing they probably would have been saying was, exactly what is this? Is it a condolence? I mean, I think Minister Mitchell may want to also, release to the Bahamian public the note, the diplomatic note that he did send on.
Chipman says it is clear to the F&M that Mitchell has little appreciation for the responsibilities of his position, and neither does the Prime Minister, who Chipman says should not have allowed the diplomatic note to be sent. This as Chipman stands by the F&M leader, maintaining that Minnis' comments were taken out of context.
It's out there, it's been said. I do support what Dr. Minnis said. I think it was taken out of context. All right, I seriously think it was taken out of context. When you look at Dr. Minnis' background, Dr. Minnis is a doctor, right, who's believe in saving lives and stuff like that. And I don't think he would have ever wished anything on the Malaysian people or the Chinese or, for that matter, any other country that some ill fate will fall on them. So I believe it was just totally taken out of context.
Now Chipman is calling for the full text of those diplomatic notes to be made public to allow the Bahamian public to decide for itself.